And good morning to everyone. I'm Rosemary Farrer. I'm from Think Tree Hub, and today I'm really delighted to have the lovely Leyla Almudin here with us. Hi, Leyla.
Hi, Rosemary. You all right?
Yeah, I'm great. Leyla, you might know me or not. She's a qualified herbalist and naturopath. Today she's working at the Really Healthy Company and their team of health experts to deliver products and education that all to do with immune care, which is something which is really on our mind at the moment. And juicing is pretty popular. And I know we all know about the benefits of vitamins such as C and D, but what Leyla's really going to take you through today is the benefits of the micro-ingredients. I think what she's going to show you is how it's the micro-ingredients which really make the difference between having those niggly little headaches and fatigue and all the things that you just think something's not quite right with me. What is it? And it's actually, I think Leyla's going to show you, it's the micro ingredients that are missing, maybe even one. And if you can just add certain things, then you're going to have a perfect, what she calls amino acid profile. I'd love to hear more about that. Leyla, off you go.
Okay, so hi everybody. So this is all about juicing, and the thing I like about juicing is that it's very easy to do. It's something that I recommend to all of my clients, particularly if they're new to the world of health. But with immune care specifically, juicing gives us a lot of the nutrients that we need for a healthy immune system. So as Rosemary said, I'm a herbalist and a naturopath. I write for magazines. I used to be the president of the largest naturopathic association in the UK. I stepped down at the end of last year because I wanted to kind of see more clients and help more people. And I've ended up working right in the immune care world. So everything that we do as an organisation is about immune care. And so we're able to help people with lots and lots of different types of immune states using nutrition and natural foods. So when we're working with the immune system, it's really important to understand the two levels of our immunity. So this is like a very, very basic understanding that just to essentially explain how our immune system works. So we have what's called our innate immune system, which is the physical barriers that cover all of our tissues. So we've got, for example, we have our skin, we've got, lining in the mouth, lining all over our organs. And this is kind of like your outer barrier, your protective barrier towards the outside world, towards pathogens. Then we have what's called the adaptive immune system, and this is the part of your immune system that learns. So this is why once you have an illness, you don't get it again. It's because your adaptive immune system has learned, it's intelligent, and it has learned how to fight this particular virus. And it's essentially, the philosophy behind vaccines and things like that. So this is our adaptive immune system. Both of these elements of the immune system need a certain set of nutrients to work. And where we have a depletion in nutrients, that's when we start to see problems with immunity. So what do problems with immunity look like? So to have a healthy immune system, we need essential vitamins. So we need our core vitamins like C, zinc, the B vitamins, E, selenium, A, copper, and vitamin D. But all of those nutrients rely on micronutrients, nutrients that perhaps we don't know so much about, in order to be effective. So the reason that juicing is very relevant for this is because it's more efficient for your body to take its nutrients from a food source than it is from kind of a chemical source, such as a for-purpose supplement or things like that. Supplements are very good for when you need a quick uplift of something, but if you can find a way of getting nutrients in more naturally, then your body will just absorb them a lot quicker, and you will feel the benefits quicker as well. Often when people come to me with signs of low immunity, maybe they're fatigued, maybe they've just got a cold that they can't shake off, maybe they feel like they just catch everything. You get some people where they say whenever they get a cold, it always goes to their chest. If there is a vulnerability in the immune system, then usually there is a vulnerability in the nutrient profile of a person's diet. And there's many reasons for that. So what is depleting our nutrient status? So first of all, if you have a stress, long ongoing chronic stress, This might be a stressful job, or you might have a new baby in the house. You might be caring for an elderly person. The haphazardness of life, having lots and lots of things on the go all the time, will use up a lot of your core nutrients and deplete you. And by doing so, it will reduce your immunity, which is why people tend to get sick after a period of stress. We also have toxins, so air pollution, water pollution, fertilizers that are in the food. These all deplete our body of nutrients. The primary way that toxins deplete us is by affecting our gut bacteria. So here I've put on the same slide gut health, because when you take toxins in, they mess up with the balance of your what's called your microbiome. And your microbiome is an important synthesizer of your key nutrients. Your microbiome is where you absorb most of your key nutrients. And so if your microbiome is unbalanced, then so too will be your nutrient status. And that's what happens when we breathe in lead and heavy metals from the environment, when we drink them in our water, and when we consume them in our food. Sleep is another important part of having a healthy immune system, because most of your regenerating activity happens while you're asleep. So when you're sleep deprived, let's say you have not slept for like maybe 3 to 4 days in a row, you'll notice you might get sniffles, you might start to get headache, you might start to feel, a little bit tense, buzzy. And this is because your body has not had that regeneration that it needs to do. Another big thing about sleep is that it affects the regeneration of your liver, which is your primary detoxification organ. So when you're not sleeping, you're not detoxifying, and so your body has that little bit more work to do the next day. So a one-off incidence of stress or a one-off incidence of a poor night's sleep shouldn't affect you if you're a healthy person, but long-term stress, sleep deprivation, exposure to chemical toxins means we need to try that little bit harder to make sure we're putting in the amount of nutrients that's being depleted out. Chemicals are another big one. So a lot of people they might have air freshener in their home, they might have scented products, things with a very strong smell. Those things tend to include things that deplete our immunity by giving our immune systems extra work to do. And of course, diet. So the big problem with modern diets is not so much that people are not on a good diet. So I do meet a lot of clients who do eat very well. They have salads, they have vegetables and things like this. It's that the nutrient content of those foods is what it should be because of this. So I have clients, they eat lots and lots of green every day, but they're eating food that is not organic, not well farmed. And so I know straight away that a lot of their effort is going to waste because that food does not have the nutrients that it needs to have in it. And I'm not sure what we can do about that, to be honest. So I have made a little cheat sheet as to, if you have one juice, you're going to do one juice in your day. How do you make sure that that juice is as nutrient dense as it possibly can be? So the first thing is to make sure that the ingredients you're using are properly farmed. So the amount of nutrient food has in it is very much dependent on the soil in which it has grown. The soil needs to be diverse and full of bacteria and microbes that will feed that plant with adequate nutrients in order to have the variety of antioxidants and nutrients it's supposed to have. This is where, if you're choosing fruits and vegetables in particular, it's very important to go organic wherever you can. If the food has a strong skin or something that will protect it from fertilizers, such as a banana or an avocado, then you're probably okay. But for any vegetable or fruit that grows above ground, if you can, go organic. So this is your strawberries that will be heavily sprayed to protect it from bugs. It's your berries, your grapes, carrots, things like this. It's very important to make sure that they are organically farmed in order for that carrot or that grape to have the nutrients it's supposed to have. The second thing to think about when you're choosing your ingredients for your juices is, how many parts of my body does this nutrient content is good for? Like, how many things is it good for? So for example, an orange has a lot of vitamin C, but it also has a lot of sugar. So when you're choosing your ingredients, it's good to go for the most nutrient dense ingredients that you can. And this is why a lot of people like kale, it's why a lot of people like broccoli, because they tend to be exceptionally nutrient dense foods. And then once you found your power ingredients, let's call them, you have to balance up how much of this do I need to get enough in my body for it to make sense. So if we take the example of, salmon is a particularly nutrient dense food, not for juicing, but it's a good nutrient dense food. How much of that do you need to consume in order to get enough nutrients to feed your body? And how feasible is it that you will consume that much of it regularly enough to get what you need? So these are all the things to consider, and this is why my favorite thing to do when juicing is to find extremely nutrient dense ingredients and add them to my juices. And this is how I basically cheat juices, and I find this is very good for busy, depleted people who don't have time to sit there and do a lot of work, don't have time to do a lot of research. They just want a recipe and they're just like, look, tell me what to get, tell me what to put in my juice, and I'll go off and do it. So that's what I've done in this presentation. So my absolute favorite ingredient is algae. So algae has most of the nutrients and micronutrients that the immune system needs. It's very, very good for your body, and algae is used in a lot of different ways. So it's good at helping detoxification, it's good at cellular regeneration, it's very clean. Well, the algae that you choose should be very clean. My favorite algae to use is a blue-green algae, and I find that 1 teaspoon of this algae in a juice is outstanding for most kind of fatigued, low immunity, tired, states of being. So it's not it also has a full spectrum of trace minerals, and these are supportive ingredients that help the nutrients get to where they want to go. The great thing about this algae is that you can have it in a fresh dried powder, and when you powder a food, you get more per teaspoon in a powdered form than you do in a fresh form, because it's been compressed and concentrated. So if you're going to go for an algae, I would go for a dried powdered algae that will have everything that you need in there. And my favorite algae is called Klamath blue-green algae. It's grown in fresh water. There's no heavy metals, there's no kind of toxins in there, and it will kind of clean out all of the rubbish and support your body's detoxification, and it also contains all of the nutrients that you need. My next power ingredient for the immune system are the Chinese mushrooms. So the Chinese mushrooms are used by lots and lots of herbalists. They're used in a lot of treatment protocols for lots of different types of health states. And the reason is because they're chemically structured in a way that your body understands, and that facilitates your immune response. So you may have heard about some of these, like reishi mushroom, shiitake mushroom, lion's mane. These all stimulate immune function. So mushrooms are especially good where your immune system is underactive, and you'll find that after, let's say, like 3 to 4 weeks of taking them regularly, you will feel a strengthening of your responsiveness. So when I say this, I'm talking about a normal healthy person who is depleted and is therefore immune depleted. I'm not talking about somebody who is in a really bad disease state. That would be a completely different presentation. But if you want to just make sure that you're feeding your immune system, then the Chinese mushrooms are really good. You can take them as a powder, you can take them as a tea. Just make sure that you check out the producer properly, and that they're all kind of organic and fresh, and so on and so forth. So how do I get my clients who have never juiced before to juice? How do you get into juicing? So one common thing that people say to me is that they can't go shopping every single day. They can't order fresh food every single day. It's tiring, it's too much thought, it's often expensive. So I say, okay, pick your top 5 ingredients, buy a week's worth of them, chop them up and put them in the freezer in bags. That will preserve all of the good things about the food. And then when you wake up in the morning, you just pull out the freezer, you take your favorite bits, you put them in your blender, and then you add your powders in after that. It's just a really easy way of getting what you need and also making your juice to suit your mood. So my top powders that I would have for people, what I recommend for anything to do with immunity is algae, a nice blue-green algae powder, a really good mushroom powder. Ginger is absolutely amazing. It helps digestion, it increases your immune system, it boosts your circulation. Echinacea, so if you have echinacea as a powder or as a tincture, you can just add a little bit to your juice. Echinacea is an immunomodulatory herb, meaning it's a good kind of constant daily assist to immune function. It's not something that you would take, just once because you have a cold. It's more of a long-term regulatory thing that you take all the time. And then green tea extract. So green tea is outstanding for your immune system. The Chinese use it a lot in their herbal medicine. And you can also get it in extract form. So you can buy bottles of green tea extract, meaning you don't have to boil anything, you don't have to cook anything. You just open the bottle, take a tablespoon, bang it into your juice, and off you go. So here is an example of a nice morning smoothie. So this is something that I have regularly, especially in the summer. I'm not a person that can cook a breakfast. I like to be very efficient in the way that I eat in the morning. So a nice large ripe banana with half a pint of organic apple juice. I put 1 teaspoon of the Klamath powder. I put 1 teaspoon of reishi powder. I blend that all up with some ice cubes, and that is a really nice way to start the day. And then you'll find that with the Klamath algae powder, it also regulates your blood sugar levels, so you won't get that mid-afternoon crash, which is also a very depleting experience, because then you'll reach for sugar. Klamath is also used for a lot of the time for blood sugar control in weight loss. And it's also used to prevent unnecessary weight gain. So where people are very emaciated and the problem that they have is that they can't seem to be gaining weight, and this is affecting their immune response, then the Klamath is really good for preventing excessive weight loss. It's really good for that as well. And the reishi powder is just there for immunity. So when I'm going out, for example, and I know I'm going to be around a lot of people in the current environment, so adding the reishi powder just gives me that little bit of security that there is a little immune component in there. So if the immune issue that you have is an inflammatory issue, then pineapple is the way to go, because pineapple is full of bromelain, which is a really good anti-inflammatory, a natural anti-inflammatory. So when I say pineapple juice, I don't mean the ready-made juices. I mean you get the pineapple and you juice it. So pineapple juice is really lovely if you have any kind of inflammation in the knees, in the throat, in any of your joints. Pineapple is the way to go. Instead of using a sugar, I like to use strawberries. If you don't like strawberries, just pick a natural food that gives you the sweetness. A lot of people use dates, or they might use licorice, or they might use honey or something like that. But I like to use strawberries because they're very, very sweet. And if I need that sugar kick, it's the strawberries that I go for. To this, I add the algae, and I also add ginger because I like that little bit of spicy flavor. But you could also add mushroom, you could add echinacea, you could add cinnamon, vanilla, whatever you like. But the important thing is that you've got your immune components in there and you know what you're aiming for. So for inflammatory juice, anti-inflammatory juice, go for the pineapple first. So if you're wanting to nourish the body, so fruits tend to be very, very good for cleansing. So when you feel like groggy and you just feel like your limbs feel a bit like glue, fruits are the way to go. But if you feel like you need a regeneration and nourishment, then it's the vegetables that you go for. Never mix vegetables and fruits together because this often creates bloating. And the only kind of fruits and vegetables you can mix are carrot and apple. Everything else should be kept separate into the categories. So I do a celery juice, carrot juice, beetroot juice, and then I add mint leaf into there. And then again, depending on what kind of effect I'm wanting to have, I can add my mushroom, my algae, echinacea, ginger, whatever you like really. So the golden rules of creating a juicing program that works for you is it's not so important about specifics. What's important is that you find a way of juicing that you like, and then you can use your powders to add the missing nutrients. So always go for real foods, so foods that are organically grown, nutrient dense. And then don't worry about using fresh things all the time. You can go for frozen foods, you can go for frozen berries, strawberries, grapes, watermelon, anything at all. The biggest first step that a person can make is to get into the habit of juicing and smoothing. And once you've got the kind of mix of flavors that you like and something that you can easily tolerate and easily integrate into your routine, you then pick your powders and just add them. It's like a really, really easy way of getting what you need from your juice. So that's the end of my juicing introduction to immune juicing. And if you are a Thinktree member, you can have a free 20-minute consultation with me by emailing Leyla@healthy.co.uk.
Brilliant, thank you. Thank you, Leyla. I think I'll take you up on that, actually.
No problem.
She loves juices, and I tell you the issue I have is I don't like ice. I don't like anything cold.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what you do then is you go for the vegetable juices and just warm them up. Just have a warm juice.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting, actually. That here's another question. Never met veg and fruit. So those vegetables which are actually fruits, do they say tomato? Would you can that as a vegetable or as a fruit in this situation?
I would put that in with vegetables. I mean, technically it's a fruit, but I would put it in with the vegetables.
So what we're talking about is really the sweet vegetables.
The
sweet fruit. What am I talking about? The sweet fruit. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's nothing inherently wrong with having fruits and vegetables at the same time. There's not wrong. What it does is it creates bloating. And so you get that uncomfortable swelling sensation in your belly, maybe some pain, and then you'll stop it. You'll stop doing it. So we just say don't mix them, because then you'll have a better experience and you're more likely to continue. The biggest barrier towards people doing these things, everyone knows that vegetables are good for you. Everybody knows that juices are good for you. But what prevents them from doing it is that it's such a rigmarole. So the secret to success is to make it easy and rewarding. So if you have like 3 or 4 things that you like, maybe you know that you like pineapple, maybe you know that you like carrot juice, make those your basics for your juice, and then the bits that are missing, add them in the form of dried food powders, and then you've got it all. And once you get into the role, then you're like, oh, I need my juice, and that's where we want to get people. So I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves that it has to be perfect. It has to have 10 different green vegetables in it. It tastes disgusting, but I'm just going to force it down me. And this is the route to failure. This is the route to failure. So forgive yourself for all of those things. Pick the ones that you like, add in what's missing in the form of powder, and then you have a nice, well-rounded juice that you can that becomes eventually a part of your life.
Yeah, I think that's so true. That's so true, Leyla. We have to dump the perfectionism.
Yeah. If you like pineapple, have pineapple.
Yeah, and just to pick you up on something to remind people of particularly what you said about, unfortunately, a lot of the vegetables that we buy are missing because of the soil quality. I've had shed and allotment for years now. When we first got it, there were no worms in it, and I always think worms are a real sign of soil health.
Yeah.
And that was particularly because the previous allotment person, whatever they're called, I don't know, had used a lot of pesticides and fertilizers. Now we for years, my friend and I, no pesticides, no fertilizers. We have stacks of worms. Same in our garden. So there it is. It's just, you can see it. I see it so many ways. By artificially stressing the soil, just like we stress our body by putting toxins in it, we stress the soil, and then the soil does not produce what we need it to produce.
Yes, and the same is so exactly this. It's exactly the same concept with our gut bacteria. Diversity is the key. Diversity is the key. Diversity in your diet, diversity of microbes in the soil, and diversity also of microbes in the microbiome. So I've got this really nice liquid micro gut bacteria formula. It's like made of fermented herbs, and it's really, really nice, and it lasts for about 6 weeks. And once it's not consumable anymore, so if you open it and you leave it for too long, you can't consume it anymore. And what I do with it is I put it in my plants, and amazing things start to happen when you put probiotics in your plants, because the soil needs that bacteria too. So that makes me happy what you just said, because yeah, that is the secret, that's the key.
It is, isn't it? Leyla, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this with us today. Again, if anyone does want a free consult with Leyla, which would be amazing, then what's your email again, Leyla?
It's Leyla@healthy.co.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Leyla.
No problem, Rosemary, thanks for having me.
Have a lovely day. Oh, wait, I'll just have a quick look in chat. Oh, one question here. Good question from Linda before we go. She says, can you overdo adding the powders? Any that shouldn't go together? And could we get the sheets you've shown up with? Four questions, Linda.
Yeah.
Number one,
yes.
Can you do adding the powders? Let's cover that one.
Yeah. So you can overdo it because your body can only absorb so much of something at the same time. So a good example of this is vitamin C. Your body can only absorb a certain amount of vitamin C at one time. And once you go above that threshold, you're basically just throwing your vitamin C in the bin. So I would go for, a relatively acceptable dose, like half a teaspoon or a teaspoon every day. And after that, you won't do yourself any harm if you add it as a natural food powder, but you'll just be wasting it because your body won't be absorbing it at all.
Okay, question 2, any that shouldn't go together?
No, not really. So the biggest sign that you've put two things together that aren't supposed to go together is gas and bloating. I see this a lot with people that do kind of like, they combine spinach with banana, for example. And this is, a bit of a disaster for your digestion. But no, there's no two things that, in terms of juicing and with real food, you're pretty safe. So I would say no.
Oh, brilliant. And she says, can we get the sheets you've shown on screen, please?
Yes, absolutely.
How would you like to do that, Leyla? I mean,
I'll send it to you, Rosemary, if you like, and then we can send it out.
Perfect, we can do that. It's lovely. And also she says, should we always do this in the morning, or is it any time of the day? Does it really matter?
It's any time. It's any time. Pick your time. Pick your time of the day. The only time I would say not to do it is right before bed, but that goes for any food, any heavy food. So no, just pick the time of day where it makes sense for you. So for me, I'm at my most juice friendly in the morning. But for my husband, he likes his juice immediately after exercise, which he does in the afternoon, and everybody's different. So it's just basically a meal of your day, or a supplementary meal of your day. So just pick the time when you really feel like you can enjoy it, and have your juice then.
Brilliant. Linda, thanks for those questions, because they're really valuable questions. Sorry, I didn't quite spot them before. And again, bye everybody. See you again soon. Bye, Leyla. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.